Hi, I'm looking at things concerning Fukushima nuclear power plant. And last time I did this last Sunday, I told you that the Trojan nuclear power plant closed in 1979 near Portland, Oregon. That was incorrect. It was closed in 1993. But all the waste is still there except for the core of the reactor, which they moved, and they were all happy about and proud. The explosion I showed for reactor 4 last week was incorrect. I was fooled, and I will work on that one to change it. It turns out there was about 2,000 tons of waste in each of these water buckets. I said a couple hundred tons, but it's thousands of tons. And I figured out the dates for the explosions. So this is the sun, the corona of the sun, 211 angstroms. This is like the atmosphere on the Earth, but when it's got dark spots, that means more energy can come towards Earth in that direction. So we get solar winds. And this one's just a blast at about 1,000 kilometers per second. Bloom, bam. So that just agitates the Earth. So the sun's always, and then the NASA programmers, but that always affects the Earth when we get that solar winds. And if there's objects closer to the Earth, then that has an effect also. That can cause earthquakes and whatnot. So here's Universal News Media showing objects in the sky on Federal Aviation Administration cameras.
So I have it marked with some arrows here.
She's talking about a bigger object, but you can clearly see this one. And they shut down all the FAA cameras now, so she can't report on anything, I guess. I'm not sure. That's another turn of the screw on information. Okay. So the timeline was March 1st, no, number 1, reactor 1 blew up on March 12th, 2011. The earthquake was on the 11th of March. So then reactor 3 blew up on March 14th, reactor 2 on March 15th, and reactor 4 on March 16th. So this was not the nuclear reactor. I was fooled. My fault. So here is number 4. This is a picture that was taken soon after the accident, and you can see all this steam coming up. Well, that's the water that is in the nuclear fuel pools that are supposed to keep this stuff cool, but it always evaporates, and once the water quit flowing and they can't keep the water cool, it just boiled off. So I think all of these have just boiled off all their stuff, and they just lie all the time, every day. The measurements were up to 530 sieverts an hour, not millisieverts, not microsieverts, but 530 sieverts an hour. And that means you couldn't walk towards a building before you drop dead. You never make it to the building. So this is a nuclear war, and we're in it for as long as we live. Here's some stuff about how our government protects us.
Outrageous, deadly, vicious lies.
Why is it being downplayed? Is it a liability issue, or do they want to prevent panic? Do you have any ideas why this is being minimized?
I know someone who's very highly placed in the State Department, and the United States government has come up with a decision. And I don't know whether it's influenced by a fear of panic or commercial interests or whatever, but I do know that the United States government, at the highest levels of the State Department, as well as other departments, FDA and on and on.
So they've raised the standards and everything by hundreds of times. Now it's safe to drink radioactive water that wasn't safe in 2010. It's safe to eat food from Japan. Everything's safe, as long as the economy keeps going and people keep making their money.
Have made a decision to downplay Fukushima. And I can't speak for the Canadian counterparts, but I will say that back in April, Hillary Clinton signed a pact with her counterpart in Japan, saying that she agreed that there are no problems with Japanese food supplies, and we would continue to buy them. So we are not sampling this material as it comes into the country because our government, the U.S., has made a decision
to poison all the citizens.
To downplay
That's
it.
the decision they've made.
I don't know.
To poison all the citizens and make money. That's our government, our fascist government. Obama was no different. He was as bad as anybody. Just horrible. Now, finding a radiation map on Japan is the hardest thing to do. This is a 2011 map, and they're lying. Every one of these readings is a lie because they're so low. 530 sieverts here, and they're saying there's 3 millisieverts. Anyway, everything's a lie with this hard to find information through all the lies. Here's the 3D map of the TEPCO plant. You can see the water tanks are very short. They're very short. There's the difference between 3D and 2D. There's how high the tank is. So once again, they're just full of shit. And of course, there's 30 million bags now in this prefecture, and they're all sitting next to the ocean, which I'll show in some future video. But they could just, if another earthquake happens, which it will, a tsunami could come in and just take all those bags and wash them in the water. And these tanks are all leaking. This is all going in the water. 1 liter of this fluid in these tanks, if you had it in a, like say, a glass bottle next to you, you would die in an hour. And these tanks are leaking. They're going to break. It's all going in the ocean. It's all a big lie, and we're all getting poisoned for the rest of our lives. I'm sure I've already breathed in some radioactive particles. So let's see what the nuclear industry has to say about all this stuff at their news conferences. Anyway, I could play that 4,000 times, but I won't, to spare you. And I think I'm going to call Fukushima Daiichi the BLOB from now on, and it has to do with an old movie with Steve McQueen in '58. Now, what happened in this movie was at the end, I think they
Oh, and he's going to take it off again. Oh, shit. After he steals the tank. Oh? I'm
not going to redo it. So, at the end of the movie, they bring out a sea hose. I think they're in a lighthouse, and they shoot the blob with salt water. And that's what they're doing at Fukushima. They're throwing salt water on it, which is much, much, much worse than fresh water, but it's all horrible.
Every one of you watching this screen, look out, because soon, very soon, the most horrifying monster menace ever conceived will be oozing into this theater.
Can't run from radiation's the problem. Radiation does this. It keeps you alive.
2 teenagers see it first.
Okay, anyway. Alright, thanks for watching.